Alright, we'll talk a little bit about what we call the tragedy of the commons. Okay, now first, let's think about common resources. What are common resources? They are rival and non-exclusive. So basically, you cannot eliminate or exclude someone from consuming them. Okay, so good thing about fish in the sea. It's a great example of a common resource. Okay, now what's the problem with common resources, right? Or what is this tragedy of commons? Well, basically, since they're non-exclusive, maybe sometimes this leads to basically overuse. Okay, now the idea is that it's basically the same model that we've seen before. Well, there's two versions to this model. The first one, right, the one we typically see is something like this, right, where we have our marginal private cost. Okay, now, and our demand is over here. Now let's think about maybe if we're call this Q market and price market. Okay, now the idea is that, hey, maybe we're talking about fishing or deforestation. Well, basically, if I chop down a tree or I get a fish, I receive some benefit. Okay, but I'm not really taking into account basically the additional cost, right, or the external cost. Right, what ends up happening? Basically, if I start fishing, right, and more people start fishing, and everybody basically fishes away, right? Basically, what we start consuming all of the fish, and we don't have any fish left. If we were to take into account all of these external costs, right, we wouldn't fish that much, right? We should be willing to pay more for these fish. Okay. Another way we can draw this model, well, the same idea, but if we were to just draw this in some text, they have this marginal cost curve is just constant. Okay, or it's just doesn't change, right? So as we start consuming more, well, basically this marginal cost will shift up over here. Okay. All right. Alright, so basically this leads to overuse of common resources. Okay. Yeah, now how do we deal with this? There's a couple of ways we can deal with this problem. Okay. We think about, well, maybe Pigovian taxes. Okay, we can try to set quotas. Maybe, hey, you can only bring in so much fish. Maybe a license. Okay, license has the same effect as a tax, right? We make people pay to get this license. Well, then maybe that's people want to go out and fish. Okay, so look at this, how we deal with these common, or the tragedy of the commons.